Welcome, everyone. It is build day, and today we're building a sequel. It's not often we get an updated version of a keyboard on the channel that I've built before, but today we are building the AV4 by IV Works. You may remember, if you've been watching my channel for some time, the AV3 keyboard. This is a stacked acrylic and stainless steel arisu keyboard that is an absolute beast. And was designed by Joe of IV Works as a pandemic project, and now the AV4 had at least another 7 months of development per the website. I'm sure more thought even than that went into it, and is a refined version of the same layout, still arisu, still stacked acrylic, so the same core fundamentals, but with a number of improvements, which we will talk about as we go. So very excited for this guy. We will come back to this because the unboxing experience is really good. The box itself is great, but the unboxing experience is quite something. For insides, we will be using lubed and filmed Texi Zaku switches, that lovely gray color. We will be using my current favorite stabilizer, the TX Stabs long pole stabilizers, which are absolutely great. I've just built a couple keyboards with them so far, and I'm very impressed. And then we will be using the Keystone Arctic keycaps, going for kind of a ghosty, clear, grayscale kind of vibe here. And if I recall correctly, I'm now doubting myself that I'm about to say that out loud. I think the Keystone keycaps had all the keycaps I needed for macOS layout on this board, because there's a number of 1.5U modifiers involved in the arisu layout. Yep, and it looks like we're good. Okay, perfect. That would have been embarrassing if I had planned all that and then turned out to be wrong. So those will be our additional parts. But jumping right in to the unboxing, the original AV3 was sent in just kind of a plain mailing box. It again was a pandemic project, and this is just immediately from the outside a much more finished project. You've got a little branding there, IV Works, Know Thyself in Latin, designed in New York, where Joe lives, and labels it as the AV4. We've got the very cool IV Works logo. I like boxes like this where you kind of see the keyboard from the profile of the box you're looking at, if that makes sense. Like, you look at the side of the box, you see the side of the keyboard. And right away, our first big change jumps out. It's no longer a stacked stainless steel weight. It's actually a machined weight. There were 3 versions of this board. The Soul, which was acrylic, and actually did have a stacked foot. The Claymore, which is what I have, and this is made of aluminum, so not stainless steel. And then the third version, I am desperately switching to the page 2 on the IV Works website off screen here, because I don't remember how to say it. The Ornstein, it is brass on there. The Soul also comes with an FR4 plate. The Claymore comes with an aluminum plate to match its aluminum weight. And the Ornstein also comes with a brass weight and a brass plate. You also may have noticed on the front, this little circle here, this has a badge in it. So it's aluminum stock on the Soul and Claymore. The Ornstein has a brass one, of course. In addition to the AV4 plate, the aluminum plate my Claymore came with, I also did order an FR4 plate and a brass badge, because I think I might be able to patina that in a cool way. So something to tinker with. Anyway, top of the box, same as the front flap, got the branding. And then on the back, we can see what the bottom of the keyboard looks like with the machined weight. Very substantial feet this time. If you look at the AV3, just uses typical kind of 3M bump-ons, which worked fine, but now there's like proper feet, and you can see through here the IV Works logo, Joe's signature there. Now it's actually engraved on the bottom plate of the board, which I think looks very professional, very finished. I quite like that. So even before we get into it, just a wonderful box to begin with. On the inside, if you, again, have been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm a sucker for a message printed on the inside of the lid. Again, it says Know Thyself in Latin. I'm not going to try and pronounce that and embarrass myself. But it says, use this to make your dreams a reality as you have done for mine. with Joe's signature, which I think is great. I think it's very cool, very classy message, and kind of harkens back to the original Mode 80 box, which was the first time I had a package with a message printed in the lid like this. That these things ultimately are tools that we get to create things with, which is, I really think, one of the coolest parts of this hobby, that you get to kind of design and build something, but then it also is functional once you've done that part. So in the box, we've got black on black, the coolest color combination, IV Works wrapping paper with an IV Works sticker seal. Mine's already broken because I took inventory of not broken, but I've broken the seal because I took inventory of everything. So we get that out of the way, and then we get into our parts here. So, like I called out, it comes stock, the Claymore edition that I have here. I'm just going to keep calling it the AV4. I specifically have the Claymore. It comes with this kind of skeletonized aluminum plate, which is just feather light. You can see the leaf springs all around the edges, the IV Works logo there. Very cool, very high finish plate. Our custom gaskets. This is a gasket mount board. So you can see them there. That's great. Plate foam, which at least on the AV3 was mandatory. I assume it still is. I actually don't know. We will find out along the way. And then one of my favorite design pieces of this board. This is absolutely going to destroy the bitrate on YouTube, IBEX, of how detailed this is. But the absolutely insane PCB. This kind of cool splatter pattern. Like, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be something, but it's just like this really, really cool look. The Protozoa Foundation, Foundation? I think Foundation. PCB has a similar motif on it with kind of like, theirs is more like swirling sand. This one's like kind of a paint spatter. You can actually, you can feel it on here. Like, it's very cool, just a lovely PCB. Big improvement, the V1 of the AV3 didn't have split backspace on the hot swap. This does, which is great. That is my preferred layout for 65s. And then you might notice the other big improvement addition on the AV4 is it has RGB now, which, this being a frosted acrylic board, it takes great advantage of. Has some very cool lighting effects. Yeah, just a really stunning, substantial, well-designed PCB. It's just great. This is the AV 4.1 hot swap. You can see there. Yeah, just love this. Big fan. My baggie's already open because I pulled it out and tested my PCB, as you should as well. Next down, we've got one of the extras I ordered, which is the very skeletonized, well, actually maybe as much as the aluminum FR4 plate, which is, this is what I plan to use. You can see the plate through the top layers of the keyboard, so I think the black will look really cool. I also just noticed this has Know Thyself in Latin on it as well. Really stunning. I love when they do the solder mask around the switches like that. Very, very cool plate. More leaf springs. A little bit of marking on the back. So that is an extra. Very excited to give that a try. I got to start organizing parts here. This is one of those keyboards that has just so many parts. I think those are my feet. Yeah, okay. So the feet were in that bag as well. We'll come back to those. And we can put away the aluminum plate and its gaskets for the moment. I have found that over the course of my keyboards journey that my flavor of plate is definitely plastics or composites, so like PC, FR4, carbon fiber, that sort of thing. Next down, we have all of our acrylic pieces. So these come all nicely papered up for protection and shipping. A little teaser of all the goodies there in the bottom of the box. So there's all your acrylic layers, not in the correct order, but I assumed stacked this way to protect them during shipping. So we will, well, I'll be very intimate with these. I'm sure I will time lapse through peeling all of the paper off, because that is quite the process. But we will certainly be coming back to those. Already a pretty substantial amount of weight just with those acrylic layers. We haven't even gotten to the weight yet. Well, weight slash riser. Does both, I suppose. I'm pretty excited that this is going to be lighter than my AV3. Love the AV3, but it is a very heavy keyboard with that stainless steel riser. And now on the Claymore, we get to enjoy this beautiful, beautiful aluminum riser. This is a very cool geometry around the edges. Really, really like that. Very, very hefty. Tasteful little IV Works logo on the back there. That is where logos belong on products. Big fan of that. Tuck that back away for the moment. And then we have a whole bunch of goodies here in the bottom. So great unboxing experience. Great layout. Everything feels very safe and protected. The presentation when you open the box is awesome. It kind of reminds me of opening a pair of like higher end sneakers. Big fan of that. We will set it aside for now. We get gloves because handling the stacked acrylic layers, you really don't want to be putting fingerprints between your layers and sealing them in. So you get IV Works branded handling gloves, which is awesome. I love that. I bought cotton gloves for handling brass parts. So very cool that these come with. And then our goodie bag. So let's dump it all out. Oh, actually, I bought 2 sets of feet. That's right, because I'm terrible at putting these on, so I like to have backups. So that's what the feet look like. They're very substantial, very thick and heavy, but just a little bit of squish and give to them. So these look great, custom molded. All of our fasteners, looks like they work with a single hex key. That's pretty rad. We love to see that. We'll sort through that. Obligatory polishing cloth. IV Works branded. So cool. Badges. So this is the one that comes with the Claymore. It's aluminum. This is the one that comes with the Ornstein. Or you can buy... The camera is wanting to focus on everything except for... There we go. Or you can buy it separate. Again, I think I might be able to patina this in a cool way. Attaches just with a single screw on the back. Pretty clever. Like the way that looks. We use the aluminum one today. Authenticity card, just like with the AV3. Didn't get number 69 this time, but got number 589. Joe sold so many of these boards and is testing all the PCBs and dispatching them all himself. He's absolutely killing it. Got your date there, his signature. Very cool. Love this little touch. And then the little goodie in the bottom here is a little patch, which I think is cool. It actually comes with a Velcro layer that you can sew onto your garment or bag or whatever, so you can take the patch off more easily, I suppose. I gotta be honest, I don't know what this logo means. I know Joe is a big fan of Dark Souls, so I'm wondering if this is maybe Souls inspired. We're just gonna scroll through the old page here. Yeah, it just describes it as a limited edition badge, because this is the same motif that's on the metal badges that go on it. So yeah, not sure what this is, but that's okay. It looks really cool. It's like the hero image on the website and everything. So let's see, what does it call the badge in the assembly instructions here? And it just says install badge. Well, yeah, I don't know what this logo is, but it's quite cool. I like that it's symmetrical. And you get a little patch. So maybe I'll have to, I could maybe throw that on my Pelican case. Actually, I've got mailbox adhesive for sticking patches to my Pelican case. I'm going from Max Voltar. That looks quite good. Maybe I'll mailbox adhesive this one onto my Pelican case as well. So let's tuck away everything we're not going to use today. We're going to put the extra feet in here. We will not be needing the authenticity card today. We can put our brass badge away. I actually put away the polishing cloth as well because I've got a couple on hand. But we'll leave out everything that we need. Rad. So there's our parts. Next up, I'm going to do the hilarious amount of acrylic peeling. So I'm going to sort my screws out, get my acrylic peeled. I'm either going to time-lapse or cut through that. I'm not sure which yet. I just realized that I filmed another build earlier today, so I need to check my SD card real quick as well. So I actually might just stop the recording here and then restart record. But sometimes interesting stuff happens. You'll know what happens. I don't know why I try to explain the future to you. You know what the future is. I don't. I'm in the present. So I'll see you on the other side. I'll leave it at that. All right, one peel left. This has gone quite well so far. Oh, okay, I'll need to go back and get the foot. So the top 2 layers and the bottom layer of this board are frosted on a single side. That's kind of where you get the frosted look from. Oh dear, there's quite a bit of paper in the logo still. Okay, that'll take some cleanup on my part. I'm not gonna belabor the video with that. All right, layers 4, 5, and 6. I'm reading the build guide here. Layers 4, 5, and 6 are identical. Install the brass standoffs into 6. So I read over the build guide before starting. It was just a touch confused. Also, if you hear me sniffling or anything, I apologize. I'm a little sick this week. This is a 7-layer board, and I said install the brass standoffs into layer 6. These fit like a glove. Sorry, these fit perfectly. Well spec'd. That's a pretty cool look, right? I mean, that's pretty rad. Install the brass standoffs into layer 6. So that had confused me at first because it's a 7-layer board, but the hexagonal holes in the acrylic layers actually hold the standoffs in place as a friction fit, which is impressive manufacturing tolerancing if that is on purpose, because laser cut acrylic can be quite variable. So we're gonna lay out my giant microfiber that I got from Protozoa at the London meetup, which was an absolute blast to meet them and see some of their boards. So these are layers 4, 5, and 6. They are identical, as the build guide says. So, if I'm understanding correctly, we're just press fitting these to there. If I left the time lapse in, future Ian's going to make that decision. I probably won't. You would have seen me push the brass standoffs through each layer. The build guide recommends doing that to get any burrs off from laser cutting. I think I only had a hole or 2 on one of the layers that had any burrs. So the manufacturing performance is really impressive on this project. Once you have the layers together, I remember some comments on my AV3 build video, people were like scared of this board because of how delicate I was building it. Once you have it together, you can just handle it. It's no problem. But as you're putting it together, you want to just make sure there's no oils or junk between the layers, because you can see it. Since the top and bottom are frosted, it's not as apparent as you might think it is. But definitely just want to give everything a little wipe. So these gloves were a top tier idea for that. So I've got the standoffs in layer 6. I'm now layering layers 4 and 5 on top of 6. The friction fit on these are really impressive. Like they have to have done prototyping to get the tolerances on the laser cuts that close. This is very impressive. Because I mean, even with the variability inherent with laser cutting, I mean, I'm not sure if I have a really good unit here or they're all this good. It's Joe, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're all this good. He does an incredible job on everything he sets his mind to. So definitely one of the most careful and thoughtful makers in the keyboard space at the moment. I actually considered waiting to build this until I had IV Ashes, the reissue, if you will, of GMK Ashes, but made out of PBT, that match this board. There's an artisan and everything. Again, it's all on the Dark Souls theme, which is not a game series that I'm into. A number of people seem to like it, including some of my friends may try it at some point, but I just really liked the shades of gray they used in the keycaps, which I am a grayscale kind of fella, so. Okay, those are all nice and flush now. And then next up we're putting on layer 3. Layer 3 is ever so slightly different. This is going to be very hard to film. It is the layer, oh boy, against the gray, there we go. You can just see it in the reflection. That has the cutouts, and that's where the leaf springs of the plate rest. So that's layer, my glove. Layer 3. Oh, I did not wipe the tops and bottoms of this. You know what, we're just going to risk it. Good, there we go. Yeah, already this frame feels very stiff. Torsionally, not so much, but like axially? I always forget. It feels quite stiff. Install the brass standoffs into layer 6, done. Lay 5 onto 6, 4 onto 5, 3 onto 4. Install layer 7 on the bottom housing. So that would be this fella. Layer 7. God, that looks so nice. On the bottom of layer 6, by installing 4 small screws on. Oh, now the bottom front thing's making sense too, because the riser will attach back. It's all coming together. Joe knows what he's doing. Reading this guide, I was a little perplexed as to what the build op order was here. But shock and surprise, Joe has this well figured out. So when it says the front, it wants me to do these ones because all right. Using the 8mm screws. I think that's going to be these guys. With 8mm screws, if you're using an acrylic riser, stack the layers and install with 4 long screws. We have an aluminum riser, so we're not worried about that at the moment. Pull USB cable into the PCB, check all the sockets. Always, 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 always test your PCB. I already did, so you don't need to watch me do that, but as the next step, done and done. If you have firmware issues, you can download firmware here. My firmware was great. Already worked with VIA right out of the box, just had to load the config file. Install stabilizers. Foam. Yeah, okay, cool. So we are going into PCB prep next. So we're gonna get our chassis out of the way here. I'm gonna leave it face down so that stuff doesn't fall into it. As we are working on the PCB, I'll get our giant protozoa cloth out of the way here. I can ditch the gloves. Have a sip of cider. One of my favorite things about the holiday season, Martin Billy's apple cider. All right. Ta-da! So, stabs, foam, leaf spring gaskets on the plate. Oh, actually, let's put the gaskets on the plate first, so that's ready to go once we've got everything else ready. That way I don't have a bunch of things all fighting for workbench space at the same time. Gaskets, got an extra set of those if I need them. Whenever there's something adhesive like that, I always like to buy an extra set. Costs like $5 and might just save you on build day. Install these. Oh, on both sides. So maybe the plate film isn't mandatory. The build guide doesn't list it as optional, so I'm still going to put it in, but it's possible you actually don't need the mid foam this time. On the AV3, you know, if the PCB is on this side of the plate, the mid foam actually acted as the bottom gaskets, but on this one we're installing gaskets on both sides. So definitely gonna time lapse through this. They just go on like stickers, nothing special here. So now that is ready when we are, which is a good spot to be in. And now we can actually get to this. So again, already tested the PCB. I have not tested my stabilizers. So I need left shift. Again, these are TX stabs, long pole version, which have come out recently on Divinity for sure, maybe some other places. Divinity's in California, so that's typically who I buy from to save on shipping costs and time. Come on, bro. Oh boy, it does not want to go into that hole. Why don't you want to go into your home? Oh, do I have it backwards? I have it backwards. I'm dumb. And all that's different about these, I took some measurements the first time I used them. They're just a millimeter, the stem is just a millimeter taller. So if you use long pole switches like I often do, I'll be using Zacu's today, which are long pole. It just makes sure that the once the switch bottoms out, the stabilizer is also definitely bottomed out by that point. So that way you don't end up with wobbly stabilized keys. And I really noticed a difference. My first build I did with them was my Keycult 265. And the mods are so stable on that board. So definitely a believer in these. Unfortunately, they only come in beige or white at the moment. Wish they came in black. But I will take the performance over the little bit of white I can occasionally see peeking out of my keyboards. It's pretty minimal. As always, my main issue with TX stabs is just getting them to clip in. Come on, buddy. You're aligned. It's not so much that they're hard to put in, it's just every... Okay, that was easy enough. It's just every upper edge on them is sharp, so it just hurts to push down on them. So we got left shift rather, our 2 space bars, and then return. I am not putting one in where backspace goes because I'm doing split back, as I mentioned earlier. Me saying that out loud was as much for y'all as it was for me to remind myself that I know how to do this. Come on. Ow. Again, just all sharp edges on the tops of stabilizers. Fortunately, if all goes well, this is where Ian jinxes himself. You only have to mess with them once. So there we go. TX stabs, no screws. You shim them in place. This is the leftovers of my build from earlier today. I built my mode sonnet this morning, hanging out with a friend. So if you see that video, the build montage was shot while I was virtually hanging out with a buddy building their sonnet because their wife was out of town for Thanksgiving. So we hung out, kept each other company, and built sonnets. It was a great time. Also another great keyboard, very thoughtfully designed. So I've got some leftover TX stab shims from that. So I would just like to finish these wheels off before starting in on the next one, so any spares are all in the same place. Probably overly pedantic of me, but you know, my brand. I was testing this PCB last night, and these LEDs are so bright. It's actually kind of unbelievable. They are like light up your room bright. So when they diffuse through the bottom case, I bet it's gonna look pretty stunning. obviously my view of them was they were shooting directly into my eyes with no diffusion in the way, so I'm sure it won't be like light up your room bright in the keyboard, but that means it should diffuse really nicely. And I think there's some cool breathing patterns and stuff you can do. I know Joe posted some really cool demo videos of what the LEDs can do. So I'm not often someone who enjoys LEDs on my keyboards, but that kind of seems like fun, especially because I'm going for a clear motif on my whole build here. I think it'll be pretty cool. All right, there we go. Get some switches here. We'll test our stabs. I've had pretty good fortune so far with TX stabs. I do need to go back and retune my Sonnet spacebar just a little bit. The left end ticks, the spacebar returns. I am going to be lazy and steal a keycap off of my workshop keyboard. The backspace lost today, so. Yeah, sounds good. So I'm not sure how much this will come through on video, but like when I bottom this out, like I can't wobble the keycap, like everything is in contact with the PCB, which with long pull switches and normal length stabilizers, you can kind of rock the keycap back and forth. The long pull TX stabs are great. Sounds pretty good to me. Also sounds pretty good to me. And this one doesn't matter because I never use left shift. But it sounds pretty good anyway. All right, we'll take it. 4 for 4. We love it. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm just not a left shift guy. I'm a right shifter. Left shift for video games, I suppose. And left space for that matter, but not while typing normally. All right, install stabs. Foam next. Again, I think this is technically going to be optional on this version of the board, but what Joe says goes, so I'm putting it in there. If I ever want to do a rebuild without the foam, I'll inquire in their very active, very helpful Discord. Well, it's pretty cool. It's got a little cutout for the emblem on the plate, so that when you put the plate on, you can see the print on the PCB through the logo. Again, just these little details like this, that's great. I love that. How good is that? Okay. Leaf spring gaskets on both sides of the plate, which I have done. And see, this is why I wanted to do that now, so I can just drop it into place. These gaskets are very thin. I'm interested to see how this feels with such thin gaskets. We found switches. Okay, next up is installing switches. So again, time lapse through that and see you on the other side. All right, all switches are seated. Gave the PCB a little testy test in VIA. Made sure everything was looking good there. And now we're rolling back into assembly town here. So let's put on our official assembly gloves. A sip of cider. So good. All right. So now we're looking at the inside, so you can see all the glossy layers. And we are going to drop this into the case. No daughter board on this bad boy. Just USB-C right there. Goes through that notch right there. Excellent fit. That's awesome. So now the guide mentions just to center it in all 4 directions so you're not getting any rubbing. I think we're in good shape there. Yep. It's looking good. Just looking for any fingerprints here real quick. It's funny, it almost kind of has an infinity mirror effect against the gray microfiber cloth. Makes it easy to check for smudgies. All right. Install badge on layer 2. That'll be this fella right here. I was about to say, how do I know it's aligned? It's a circle. Ian, get your life together, man. Okay. Removing official assembly glove. Debaggying. Oh, I just destroyed that baggie. Okay, I really debaggied this. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, well, RIP that tiny little Ziploc. And then we are using this screw. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling this layer of acrylic off the edge of my workbench, just so I can put the screw through the bottom, and then just kind of spin on the badge. I'm sorry you can't see that, but I will show you back on screen here now that it's in place. There you go. So looks like that from the top. The layer above this has a circular cutout, so this is kind of I'm not sure if it's subflush or just a little proud. I guess we'll find out. And then single screw on the back, nice and easy. So now we drop that layer on, and oh, look at that! You can just see the plate through the frosting a little bit. Woo! Joe, killing the stacked keyboard game, my man. And in these layers, it's much trickier to see schmutzes because they're frosted, but they're there. So I'm just gonna do a little wipe around here, and then you can see the big circle here for the badge to go through, just like that. And it's just a little proud, not very much. It's just a little proud. Those are looking and feeling pretty aligned. I'm gonna remove my official assembly glove here because I can't quite feel through them how our alignment is. The top layer is ever just so slightly smaller. That is intentional. So if you can see that gap on camera, that's supposed to be there. No stress on that one. The human finger, I think, can feel like 100 microns or something like that. So you can actually get pretty good alignment by trusting your fingertips. That's feeling pretty good right there. All right, and then the instructions split from here between metal or acrylic riser. If using a metal riser, install 4 medium length 10mm screws. I think that's gonna be those guys, yep. On the top front, yep. So that'll be these ones. Why is everything dusty, you know? When I was a kid, I feel like I didn't see dust that often. I guess maybe now because I'm like in charge of cleaning, I notice the dust more. But everything's just dusty all the time. Is it the microplastics? What's going on? I don't know. Anyway, so we're gonna use the 10mm screws on the front edge here, and that'll finish off the front edge, because you'll recall the bottom 4 screws we put in were also on this leading edge. Oh, Joe, you included 1 extra of every screw. My guy. Such a small thing, but it makes such a big difference. If you have 1 improperly cut screw or something, it can be such a bummer when you're doing a build. The 24mm on the top back until they reach the bottom of the brass standoffs. Okay, so wow, these go all the way through the board and then into the riser. Interesting. Okay. I would not have expected that, but that makes complete sense because then there's no screws on the bottom of the riser. I was wondering where the screw holes on the riser were. They're on the inside. Joe, so smart. Such a thoughtful, oop, we are jacking up the keyboard. There we go. Such a smart design the whole way through on this board. Really, really just incredible work. Flip the board 90 degrees. I'm assuming it means flip it up. Like, okay, I picked it up like it was going to be heavy. It is actually kind of amazing how light this is as a package currently for how heavy that acrylic felt. This is that thing where your brain judges how heavy something should be based off its size. Now this looks bigger, I thought it'd be heavier. So we got our weight here, and sure enough, 4 little tapped holes right there. Joe, this guy. Oh, and then it also covers up the bottom of the USB slot as well. Smart. My main gripe with the AV3 is how tight the cutout for the USB was. It made it really challenging with some cables, and it looks like he's left a little more affordance this time, which is great. All right, so now we're aligning this side to side again just by finger feel. I'm actually gonna turn this way so that way I can access all the screws and y'all can still more or less see what's going on. Oh, it's just too tall to fit in frame. Fair enough. I always forget how wide arisu boards are until I put one on the desk. They've got some girth to them. Typically when you would do something like this, you'd want to use bushings so that you're not trying to align 2 separately threaded parts, but it seems to be working out in this case. Okay, there we go. So let's get those. There's definitely more pressure on the screw once you get into the foot. There we go. There we go. All right, so now we're kind of tacked into place. And it feels and looks evenly aligned on both sides. Excellent. Ooh, got too excited. Give her a flip. Oh, that looks so nice. The Claymore name is fitting for this. Aesthetically. All right. And then as long as we're on the bottom side here, next up are feet. These are intense feet. These are business feet. Look at that. That looks great. So, again, AV3 for comparison, little round bump-ons. There was actually one down on the tip there, which we don't have in this case. I'm guessing these feet are thick enough that it keeps the nose up off the surface instead of our stainless steel plates. We've got a 3D milled weight on this one. Oh, it's so much lighter. There's our side profiles. You can still kind of see through the keyboard, which is so cool. I love that look. It kind of reminds me of those like cutaway books when we were kids. I love a good cutaway book. You can kind of see the pink of the quartz switches I have in here currently. Let's look at the USB cutout here. Oh yeah, way more spacious on the AV4. Yeah, the AV3 was only 2 layers. Much improved. Much improved. And then we'll do one of these. I think the AV4 is actually just a little bit smaller. No, they're pretty close, actually. Maybe just a hair smaller. But yeah, definitely a much more matured version of the same DNA. I love that. Let me grab the scale real quick. So our AV3 stainless steel plate and weight is 2,548 grams. And thumbs down on my filing cabinet. And our AV4, the aluminum, is 1337. So elite, bro. So over pretty much exactly 1.2 kilograms lighter. That is significant. It weighed like half as much. That took a second to sink in. That's remarkable. I do wonder if on the site here, if he has projected weight for the Ornstein, because I bet that one's pretty close to the AV3 weight, because it is a brass riser on it. Let's see if there's projected weights for these. They're in pounds. Gross. Let me change my units here. Pounds, ounces. So mine is 2.15. Estimated on the site's 3.3. Oh, but that's with the aluminum plate, not the FR4. So, okay, that tracks. And then the Ornstein's projected to be 5.9 pounds, so it probably weighs similarly to the stainless steel build of the AV3. Wild. Almost half the weight. That's pretty unreal. That's pretty nuts. God, it's just so light. I do like a heavy keyboard. This feels like a better, more balanced package to me, weight-wise. The AV3 is a tank on your desk, and because it's so relatively small to some other boards and looks like plastic on the top, when you pick it up, it really kind of messes with your head for a second. I'm going to throw some keycaps on here, then we're going to plug it in and enjoy the RGB, and I will append some sound tests to the end. So let me do keycaps here. And there she is. I think that whole kind of ghost gray motif looks pretty great, especially being able to see the black FR4 plate through the top with the ZACU switches and the white stabilizers. I think that's great. All right, I am dying to see this RGB. Let me turn off the film lights here. And plug in my completed AV4 for the first time. Whoop, nope, too low. Oh, yeah, look at that. That's very cool. I like that it's blue. Blue's my favorite color, so that's a nice default color for it to be. I feel like we gotta tinker with that at least a little bit. Let me crack open VIA here. Breathing, always a classic. Breathing 1, what's breathing 2? Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how those are different. Maybe it's a little brighter at the peak. Rainbow mood. That's pretty fun. I like how I'm looking at the camera monitor, and I think it's coming through how it's like, because the FR4 plate's solid, I guess any of the plates would be solid, you just kind of get it around the rim. And there's this really interesting like light tunnel effect happening on the very bottom layer because some of the light is bouncing back off the frosting. So like the bottom layer's super bright kind of around this rim as if you'd be sitting at your desk and kind of see like, it almost kind of looks like it's floating. That's pretty cool. So that's Rainbow Mood 1. Rainbow Mood 2. Maybe just a different cycle of colors. Looks pretty similar. Rainbow Swirl. This is one I was excited to see. That's pretty fun. Just the color chaser on the edge. I dig that. Snake. Oh, we love that. That's awesome. Yeah, let me make it red. It's like a Cylon or Knight Rider. You can pick whichever one of those you prefer. That's pretty great. The fact that it only comes through on the edge is really quite apparent with this kind of effect. Oh, even smoother and faster. That's pretty cool. The other way. Whoa. That's when you're typing real fast. It'd actually be cool if it changed based on your typing speed. Knight 1. Oh, so it actually is like Knight Rider now. Okay, that's funny. I love that that's in there. That's great. So I'm guessing these just get faster and faster. I think like level 2 of the Snake and the Knight Rider effect are the winners. I like that it stops right at the cable too. That's pretty great. This one's called Christmas. Those are Christmas colors. All right, as advertised. Gradients. Yeah, I think we're just gonna get into more rainbow style chases here. RGB test. Oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Fair. Bluff called. alternating. That's pretty cool too. I like that. I feel like that'd be a little distracting, but that's a fun effect. I think we're gonna stick with Night Rider, or just Night rather, night mode 2 here. And I think let's find something fun here. I think I'm probably gonna end up going with blue. I usually do. Yeah, kind of that icy blue. I'm digging that. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna turn the brightness down some because that'll be quite distracting. There we go. So on camera, I'm sure that looks quite non-impressive at this point, but to my eyes, that's feeling about just right. Although actually, here, let me. This will be a better thumbnail. Gotta feed the machine. That's stunning, Joe. Once again, just really, absolutely stunning. The AV3 was so impressive, and this is such a remarkable improvement on top of that. Even it really is just a refinement of the same DNA. I've been saying it the whole time, but it's just, you know, the same album re-recorded with newer technology, if you will. It's the AV3 Joe's version. That's wonderful. Well, following will be sound tests. I'll probably do Keystream versus GMK. I don't believe I've done that sound test before, so that should be a good one. My space bars are a little sluggish here, so I might need to break these stabs in for a little while before I get to the sound test. But by the time you're watching this, that means I've done it. So good for you in the future. Current me is envious that you're there, but I'll catch up with you soon enough. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Enjoy the sound tests. Subscribe if you want to see more like this. Like the video if you did, and leave a comment if you have a question. I love talking to everyone who watches. So I will see you in the next one.